everybody, and welcome back to the Ultimate Fashion History's 20th Century Style Icon series. Now remember, for something to be iconic, it doesn't necessarily have to be attractive, and so it is with great delight that we're going to be looking at the interesting sartorial stylings of Edina Monsoon. Of course, Edina, also known as Eddie, was the central character in the British TV comedy, which also spawned movies, Absolutely Fabulous, also known as Ab-Fab. The character was written by, created by, and brought brilliantly to life by Jennifer Saunders, of course. I want to kick off by saying something positive about Edina's embarrassing obsession with fashion. Remember when Ab-Fab debuted in the early 1990s, in 1992? We didn't have in England all of the cable television channels that we do today. And really none of us had the internet, did we? Not to the extent that we have it today. And so really only people in fashion or who followed fashion really knew about fashion. And so I genuinely think that Edina Monsoon and her constant references to designers actually introduced a lot of Middle England, and I'd argue Middle America, to designers like Christian Lacroix and Moschino. But maybe, although she did spread the news, in this case we should have shot the messenger. People say that Ab-Fab makes fun of fashion. I really disagree with this statement. I think Ab-Fab makes fun of people's relationship with fashion, and sometimes this relationship is bad. Very bad. Edina had a toxic relationship with fashion. And yet in 1992, Edina absolutely heralded the future of fashion and what I perceive as the problem in fashion today, when she uttered that legendary line, "Lacroix, sweetie." What was she saying here? Well, she was predicting the future, that labels would become more important than fashion itself. Eddie wasn't so much a victim of fashion as she was a victim of labels and what they represented, an idea that started in the 1980s but exploded in the 90s and is still sort of with us today. This idea that if you could afford ready-to-wear runway, then you were going to look good in it. How could you not look good in a Moschino multicolored jigsaw puzzle baseball jacket? How could you not look good in designer combat? And how could you not look good in Lacroix, sweetie? Edina says it herself. Chanel, Dior, Lagerfeld, Givenchy, Gaultier, darling. Names, names, names. It was all about names, regardless of what the clothing actually looked like on you. And people became so obsessed with labels, and still are very much, that in the case of Edina Monsoon, they lost all their common sense, let alone their fashion sense. And the fashion world today is still so obsessed with labels and names that sometimes we can't see past the name. Take a look at this. This is terrific. It's Marc Jacobs. And this would be very appropriate for a woman who can afford to wear Marc Jacobs, and that is generally an affluent woman in her 40s, 50s, and beyond. But take a look at this. I don't think anybody really wants to wear this. It doesn't make sense in the real world. And yet fashion critics still rave about it. Why? Because of the power of that name, Marc. Lagerfeld for Chanel generally gets it right, but when he gets it wrong, like here, people are still afraid to say that this just isn't right for the Chanel customer, who is an affluent woman, actually in her 50s and beyond. And believe me, women in their 50s do not want to wear baby pink sweats with a midriff shredded. I can only think of one woman who would like to wear this. Edina Monsoon. Names, 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 sweetie. Another name, Moschino. Take a look at this. It's kind of cute. I can imagine one of my fashion students at school wearing this with leggings and sneakers. But it's $1,300. They can't afford that. And again, I can only think of one woman who would love to wear that in her 40s or 50s. Moschino, sweetie. But none of this is really poor Eddie's fault. There is such a disconnect between what designers put on the runway and what real women who can afford to buy their clothes want to wear. All of these outfits look either terrific or at least interesting on a 6 foot tall 19-year-old beautiful runway model. But in the real world, again, I can only think of one person who would enjoy wearing any of these outfits. In fact, I think that designers should do this as an exercise. They should put Edina Monsoon's head on their entire collections, and if it looks like something she can wear, they might want to rethink it. Although I think she actually has worn some of these outfits. The image on the far right, that's Lagerfeld for Chanel, and very, very similar to Edina's famous double triple denim. My only wish is that more designers would understand that their real customer isn't a 19-year-old runway model. It's an older, successful career woman. Take a look at this. Isn't it gorgeous? This is absolutely appropriate, yet stylish and fashionable, and would work perfectly for Edina Monsoon. Imagine we could give Edina an extreme makeover, fix her hair, put her in this, and she actually looks like that affluent, successful, power-driven PR lady that she erroneously thinks she is. I think she'd be taken seriously in the PR world, even with her Bolly-Stolly and a friend like Patsy. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of 20th Century Style Icons on the Ultimate Fashion History. You can contact me through my website, amandahalley.com. Join our Facebook group. It's loads of fun. I'm back every Wednesday and Saturday, and sometimes in between with new videos. So just click the little circle to subscribe. I'm off to have a Bolly-Stolly and watch me some Ab-Fab. Bye for now.